Welcome, my name is Luca Simeone, I'm a cultural anthropologist, and I carried out an ethnographic study of MIT Sensible City Lab's organizational culture in order to understand if there were components that foster transdisciplinarity. Sensible City Lab is a research initiative at MIT. It's located in Cambridge, and basically it's a research group that studies the interface between cities, people, and technologies, and at the same time investigates how the ubiquity of digital devices and the information networks that augment our cities today are impacting urban living. Within this framework, Sensible City Lab carried out several really successful projects that span from architectural interventions to design studies. Sensible City Lab is a really unique place. In 7 years, roughly 50 projects have been carried out by 350 collaborators, representing more than 60 different disciplines: architecture, urban studies and planning, engineering, but also, radically different disciplines like theology or game programming, Russian studies, medieval studies, sport, music, space science, and many other disciplines. So my research goal was to try to map Sensible City Lab's organizational culture behind this radical transdisciplinarity in order to identify key components and best practices. Organizational culture has three dimensions: a physical dimension, that is, people sharing virtual and physical spaces. There's an organizational dimension, that is, the way the lab is structured, so, the relationships among the stakeholders, the rules, policies, processes and practices, management systems. And there's a cultural dimension that is composed by the cultural narratives, values, and assumptions behind the organization and the personal biographies of people who are part of the lab. I started trying to map some organizational patterns behind transdisciplinarity. So the first thing that struck me was, the fact that Sensible City Lab has a door that is constantly open. There are people flowing in and out. Researchers, students, collaborators. At times, there have been projects where more than 60, 50 different people, different researchers collaborated at the same time. The other interesting thing is that the lab hosts really strange elements at times. It's kind of a sort of repository of objects, strange objects coming from previous and current projects being developed. And so you can find car dashboards, you can find bicycle wheels, components of flying robots, all mixed up, all kind of casually distributed in the lab. Some of them can be identified as boundary objects, so objects which are both plastic enough to adapt to local needs and constraints of the several parties employing them, but they are robust enough to maintain a common identity across sites. And these, are some important elements for transdisciplinary communication. There are some tables where people can just sit, but there aren't seats assigned, and each researcher is not a fixed personal space. So in this sense, it's really difficult for researchers to personalize the space and to inscribe into the space their personal identity. It's more that the entire space is or represents the group identity more than the individual's identity. And this is also reflected on some little rituals. In this case, for example, the big table where all the researchers sit is full of small gifts, left on the table, like candies or chocolate bars, and these are not usually directed to specific people. They're just, left on the table for the group. So again, these physical exchanges act as a symbolic gate towards group transculturation. Of course, there are also private offices, but again, the distribution of people across private and public space is really casual in a way. One of the researchers once told me, "Do you want to know a good thing about the lab? If you need an office, you just grab an office." Initially, I was a little bit shy. Now, when I need an office, I just go there and occupy it. So again, distribution of people is really flexible. And the core of the organization is composed of teams. Teams are the key units of this organizational order, and they basically supplant the traditional bureaucratic pyramid, as the archetypal work group. So Sensible City Lab is composed of small teams acting in a kind of, a really flexible way, a really autonomous way. And also, the membership is pretty flexible. Once one of the old researchers from the lab was collecting biographies for a publication, and she asked to a new member, "Hey, I'm collecting biographies from all the members of the lab. Do you send me your bio?" And he answered, "Should I? Am I part of the lab? I've only been working here for a few weeks." So again, you have this really fluid membership, short part-time engagements, a combination of academics and professionals from industry, flexible roles over time, and you have a really extended geographic distribution. This is a picture showing a big room, actually from the old lab. Now the lab moved to another office, but there are similar patterns, and you can see here there are two tables, two different styles. The table from the table on the left is the table where the administrative officer sits, and you can see that her desk is really clean, is really organized, and there's this other table on the right side, and it's really messy, it's really chaotic. So again, another strength of the lab is that it allows people to follow their own way of organizing, their own way of managing projects, and in this sense, again, it's really flexible. It's more that there's a low level of formalization, and each team can, in a way, organize itself according to its own rules. This is reflected in also the ways the projects are managed. You can see there are projects managed through Gantt schemes, Gantt charts, and some other projects just managed through, let's say, more fluid and dynamic approaches. In a few words, Sensible City Lab is an hybrid organizational structure. So again, it's positioned as an organic, adaptive, self-organizing structure. But if you want, you can keep your traditional mechanistic components. So you have that the most of the lab is an organic structure with a horizontal integration, network of authority and control based on knowledge and a task. There's a low formalization, so tasks and responsibilities are usually redefined depending on the situation. There's a decentralization, so decisions are made by those with knowledge, even if they are horizontally distributed. And this is the way the lab works. But if you want to keep within a team a really mechanistic structure, you can do that, and this is another component that fosters transdisciplinarity and different approaches. Of course, it's not pure chaos. There are coordination mechanisms. Pecha-Kucha presentations are one of these coordination mechanisms. So in the end, there are like quick feedback loops that control self-organizing teams and emergent behaviors, and these quick feedback loops are meetings, Pecha-Kucha presentations, updates via email, and so on. I also sent a survey to current Sensible City Lab members, and the survey was mostly targeted to analyze if researchers were happy with the way the lab is structured and organized. And as you can see, the results and the answers from the researchers are really positive. So again, this was just, a short presentation highlighting just some components, some elements of the study. But I think that, also reviewing the scientific literature, Sensible City Lab follows some organizational cultural patterns that favor transdisciplinarity. So there are flexible and permeable boundaries, there are independent and autonomous teams working, a network of authority and control based on knowledge on a task. Management processes are usually decentralized and low formalized, and then there's like an experiential learning and an inquiry and discovery based learning. These are elements that are present in Sensible City Lab organizational culture, but at the same time they're also frequently reviewed in the literature as important components. Thank you. Please write me for questions or feedback, and we'll be happy to send you the first report of the study.